The crystal looked impossible. No color, no flaws visible to the naked eye. For a brief moment, everyone believed they had uncovered one of the greatest diamonds ever found. They hadn't. What lay inside the rock belonged to a world so rare that even today, most collectors will never encounter one. Because the rarest white gemstones were never the most famous ones. Many spent millions of years hidden beneath mountains. Others disappeared into museums before the public even knew they existed. And a few have become legends simply because almost nobody has ever seen them. Today, those forgotten legends finally come into the light. Don't forget to press and hold that like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe before we begin. Number 10. White zircon. Long before microscopes, spectrometers, and modern gem laboratories could reveal a gemstone's true identity, white zircon quietly built a reputation that rivaled the most coveted jewels on Earth. Its brilliant flashes of rainbow fire, exceptional transparency, and unmistakable sparkle convinced generations that they were looking at one of nature's greatest treasures. In many cases they were, but not the treasure they believed. Unlike cubic zirconia, the laboratory-made material created only in the 20th century, white zircon is entirely natural. It crystallized deep within Earth's crust hundreds of millions, and sometimes billions, of years ago. In fact, zircon is one of the oldest minerals ever discovered. Some zircon crystals found in Western Australia are more than 4.4 billion years old, preserving clues about the earliest chapter of Earth's history. Although those ancient crystals are scientific specimens rather than gemstones, they reveal just how extraordinary this mineral truly is. Gem-quality white zircon, however, tells a different story. Only a tiny fraction of natural zircon forms with the exceptional clarity, colorlessness, and stability required to produce fine gemstones. Most crystals develop internal damage from natural radioactive elements over immense spans of geological time, causing them to become cloudy or structurally weakened. Finding a crystal that survives those processes while remaining beautifully transparent is remarkably uncommon. The finest white zircons are recovered from a small number of historic deposits, particularly in Cambodia, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. Even there, stones displaying vivid fire, excellent clarity, and larger sizes are becoming increasingly scarce as high-quality deposits continue to decline. Ironically, white zircon spent centuries living in the shadow of another gemstone. It was admired because people believed it was a diamond. Today, collectors pursue it for exactly the opposite reason. Its value no longer comes from imitation, but from authenticity. It represents a natural gemstone with a geological history stretching back almost to the birth of the planet, combined with optical beauty that few white gemstones can equal. That remarkable journey, from centuries of mistaken identity to recognition as a collector's gemstone in its own right, is what earns white zircon the first place on this countdown. It is proof that some of the world's rarest treasures do not become legendary because everyone recognizes them. Sometimes they become legendary because almost nobody did. Number 9. Goshenite. If every trace of color could be erased from an emerald, what would remain? The answer is not a diamond. It is Goshenite, a gemstone so pure that nature left almost nothing behind except crystal. Every member of the beryl family is famous for a color. Emerald owes its legendary green to chromium and vanadium. Aquamarine is colored by iron. Morganite gains its delicate pink from manganese. Those tiny chemical impurities transformed ordinary beryl into some of the most recognizable gemstones on Earth. Goshenite followed a completely different path. During its formation, the crystal escaped nearly every impurity responsible for color. What emerged was one of the purest natural forms of beryl ever discovered, a gemstone with exceptional transparency, icy brilliance, and an almost invisible body color. In geological terms, that level of chemical purity is surprisingly uncommon. Nature is far more likely to introduce trace elements than to leave a crystal almost perfectly colorless. The gemstone takes its name from Goshen, Massachusetts, where it was first identified in the early 19th century. Since then, important deposits have been found in Brazil, Madagascar, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Namibia. Yet finding material worthy of elite collections remains a different challenge altogether. Most crystals contain fractures, inclusions, or uneven transparency that prevent them from becoming exceptional faceted gems. The finest Goshenites possess a remarkable optical quality. Instead of dazzling viewers with dramatic flashes of color, they create an impression of almost impossible clarity. Looking through a perfectly cut specimen can feel less like observing a gemstone and more like looking through a frozen drop of perfectly pure water. That understated beauty has made Goshenite a favorite among collectors who appreciate rarity that does not immediately reveal itself. Its quiet reputation has also kept it away from the mainstream jewelry market. Unlike emeralds or aquamarines, Goshenite has never been promoted by luxury brands or surrounded by royal legends. As a result, many gemstone enthusiasts spend years collecting without ever encountering a museum-grade example in person. Yet among mineral specialists, Goshenite represents something much more fascinating than another transparent gemstone. It is evidence of how a single mineral can produce entirely different treasures simply by adding or removing microscopic amounts of chemical elements during its formation. Most collectors search for the brightest color nature can create. Goshenite reminds them that sometimes the rarest achievement is the complete absence of color itself. Hidden inside its crystal is one of geology's most remarkable accidents, proof that perfection is not always created by adding more, but by leaving almost everything out. Number 8. White sapphire. For centuries, the world's wealthiest families had one simple question whenever they commissioned a precious gemstone. Why choose anything except a diamond? Surprisingly, many of them didn't. Instead, they selected white sapphire, a gemstone that lacked a diamond's fame but possessed something equally important: extraordinary resilience born deep within the earth. Long before diamonds became the universal symbol of luxury, white sapphires had already found their place in royal jewelry, ceremonial ornaments, and treasured collections across Asia. Their appeal wasn't built on marketing or fashion. It came from nature itself. White sapphire is a variety of corundum, the same mineral that produces the legendary blue sapphires, treasured by kings and queens for centuries. The only difference is chemistry. While blue sapphires acquire their famous color from tiny amounts of iron and titanium, white sapphire forms when those coloring elements are almost completely absent. That seemingly simple difference is actually an extraordinary geological coincidence. Nature rarely creates corundum without introducing at least some trace elements, making naturally colorless crystals far less common than many people assume. Even when such crystals do form, only a small percentage possess the transparency, clarity, and structural integrity needed to become exceptional gemstones. Many contain silk-like inclusions, fractures, or subtle color zoning that prevent them from reaching collector quality. The finest white sapphires have historically come from the legendary gem gravels of Sri Lanka, where miners have recovered precious stones for more than 2,000 years. Smaller quantities have also emerged from Madagascar, Myanmar, and Tanzania, but museum-grade examples remain remarkably scarce. Unlike white zircon, white sapphire never tried to imitate another gemstone. It earned its reputation for different reasons. With a hardness of 9 on the Mohs scale, it is second only to diamond among natural gemstones, allowing its polished facets to remain sharp through generations of wear. That combination of durability and rarity has made outstanding untreated specimens especially attractive to collectors who value natural perfection over modern brilliance. Today, white sapphire occupies a curious position in the gemstone world. It is respected by gemologists, sought after by knowledgeable collectors, and occasionally displayed in prestigious museums, yet it remains almost invisible to the general public. Most people recognize sapphire only by its royal blue color, never realizing that one of its rarest forms is completely transparent. Perhaps that is what makes white sapphire so fascinating. It doesn't compete with diamonds for attention, nor does it rely on dramatic color to capture admiration. Instead, it tells a quieter story, one of geological precision, remarkable endurance, and a rare kind of beauty that only reveals itself to those willing to look beyond the obvious. Number 7. Danburite. In 1839, miners working in a quiet corner of Connecticut weren't searching for a new gemstone. They were simply extracting rock. What they uncovered instead was a crystal unlike anything scientists had carefully documented before. Hidden inside the marble deposits near the town of Danbury, transparent prismatic crystals caught the attention of mineralogists, eventually leading to the identification of an entirely new mineral species. It would later become known as Danburite, a gemstone that would spend the next 2 centuries quietly becoming one of the collector world's best-kept secrets. Unlike diamonds, sapphires, or emeralds, Danburite never benefited from royal patronage or international marketing. Its reputation grew almost entirely through museums, mineral exhibitions, and conversations among serious collectors. That anonymity has kept it out of the spotlight, but it has also made discovering an exceptional specimen feel like uncovering a forgotten chapter of Earth's geological history. Danburite forms only under a remarkably narrow set of geological conditions, involving boron-rich hydrothermal fluids interacting with limestone and marble. Those conditions occur far less frequently than the environments that create many better-known gemstones. Even when the mineral does crystallize, nature rarely produces pieces with the transparency, size, and structural perfection required for fine faceting. For that reason, truly outstanding Danburite gemstones are surprisingly scarce. The world's finest examples are widely associated with Charcas in San Luis Potosí, Mexico, where a handful of pockets have yielded crystals of extraordinary clarity. Some specimens appear almost impossibly clean, allowing light to travel through the gemstone with remarkable precision. Their elegant elongated crystals, combined with a brilliant glass-like luster, give Danburite an appearance that many first-time viewers mistake for something far more common, until they learn just how rarely nature creates material of this quality. Because production has always been limited, Danburite never became a commercial jewelry staple. Most gem-quality crystals disappear into private collections, specialist dealers, or museum displays long before the public ever has a chance to see them. Large, flawless stones are especially uncommon, making each exceptional specimen the result of a geological process that nature has repeated only a handful of times. That rarity has gradually transformed Danburite from an obscure scientific discovery into a gemstone prized by collectors who value scarcity over fame. It doesn't owe its reputation to celebrity owners or record-breaking auctions. Instead, its significance comes from something far more enduring: the improbable combination of chemistry, geology, and time that allowed such a crystal to exist at all. For most people, Danburite remains a name they've never heard. For experienced collectors, however, finding a truly exceptional example is less like buying another gemstone and more like preserving one of nature's rarest geological accidents. Number 6. Petalite. In the early 19th century, a nearly colorless crystal from a remote Swedish island sparked a scientific discovery that would eventually change the modern world. At first, there was nothing about the mineral that suggested it was extraordinary. It lacked the brilliant fire of a diamond, the royal prestige of a sapphire, and the vivid colors that usually attract collectors. To most observers, it appeared to be just another transparent stone hidden among ordinary rocks. But scientists saw something everyone else had missed. In 1800, the Brazilian naturalist José Bonifácio de Andrade e Silva discovered the mineral on the island of Uto, Sweden. A few years later, chemist Johann August Arfwedson analyzed samples of petalite while studying minerals in the laboratory of the renowned scientist Jöns Jacob Berzelius. During that research, he identified a previously unknown chemical element, lithium. Today, lithium powers smartphones, laptops, electric vehicles, satellites, and countless technologies that define modern civilization. Yet the scientific journey leading to that discovery began with an unassuming white gemstone that most people have never heard of. Despite its historical importance, gem-quality petalite remains exceptionally uncommon. The mineral forms only in highly evolved granite pegmatites, geological environments famous for producing some of the world's rarest minerals. Even within those pegmatites, transparent crystals large enough for cutting are uncommon, while specimens with outstanding clarity and minimal internal fractures are considerably rarer. Fine petalite has been recovered from Brazil, Namibia, Afghanistan, and Myanmar, but production has always been limited. Most crystals are collected as mineral specimens rather than transformed into faceted gemstones, making high-quality cut stones surprisingly scarce on the international collector market. What makes petalite particularly fascinating is its understated appearance. Unlike gemstones that rely on dramatic flashes of color, its beauty comes from remarkable purity. Under proper lighting, a fine petalite displays a clean, almost weightless transparency that gives the impression of looking into perfectly frozen water. That quiet elegance has earned it admiration among experienced collectors, even though it remains almost invisible to the general jewelry industry. Its greatest value, however, lies beyond aesthetics. Few gemstones can claim they helped unlock an element that reshapes science, industry, and technology. Petalite occupies that unique place in history. It is both a geological rarity and a scientific landmark, linking the ancient forces that formed Earth's crust with one of humanity's most important technological revolutions. For that reason, petalite deserves far more recognition than it receives. Hidden behind its simple appearance is a gemstone that not only survived millions of years beneath the Earth's surface, but also helped reveal an element that continues to power the modern age. Number 5. Pollucite. Some of the world's rarest gemstones are treasured because they sparkle. Others are treasured because they changed history. Pollucite belongs to a far smaller group. Gemstones so uncommon that scientists value them almost as much as collectors do. Unlike most white gemstones on this list, pollucite was never destined to become a jewelry icon. Its story begins deep inside gigantic granite pegmatites, where nature concentrates some of the rarest chemical elements found in Earth's crust. Among them is cesium, one of the least abundant alkali metals on the planet. Pollucite is the mineral that carries most of the world's naturally occurring cesium, making every high-quality crystal important long before it is ever considered for cutting. That alone makes gem-quality pollucite exceptionally rare. Most pollucite crystals are opaque, heavily fractured, or filled with internal imperfections that prevent them from becoming gemstones. Only a tiny percentage develop the remarkable transparency and structural stability required for fasting. Even then, cutters face another challenge. Although pollucite can produce beautiful gems, it has perfect cleavage in one direction, meaning a single mistake during cutting can split the crystal apart. Because of those difficulties, relatively few fine pollucite gemstones exist. Some of the finest specimens have been recovered from Afghanistan, Namibia, Brazil, Canada, and the famous pegmatites of Myanmar, but production has always remained extremely limited. When exceptional transparent crystals are discovered, many never reach the jewelry market at all. Instead, they are preserved by museums, universities, or advanced mineral collectors who recognize both their geological rarity and scientific significance. Visually, pollucite possesses a quiet elegance. Its crystal-clear body, subtle vitreous luster, and clean white appearance rarely compete for attention with more colorful gemstones. Yet that simplicity is exactly what makes flawless examples so captivating. Without bold colors to distract the eye, every tiny inclusion, fracture, or imperfection becomes immediately visible. Finding a crystal that appears almost perfectly transparent is therefore an exceptionally uncommon event. For experienced collectors, owning a fine pollucite is not about wearing an impressive jewel. It is about preserving a mineral that exists at the intersection of geology, chemistry, and technological history. The same element hidden inside these crystals now plays a vital role in atomic clocks, advanced scientific instruments, and specialized industrial applications around the world. That remarkable connection gives pollucite a story unlike any other gemstone in this countdown. It is not remembered for royal crowns or legendary treasure. Its legacy comes from the extraordinary chemistry locked inside its crystal lattice, a reminder that some of Earth's rarest white gemstones have helped shape the modern world in ways few people ever imagine. Number 4. Colorless spinel. For more than 500 years, some of the world's most celebrated royal jewels carried a remarkable secret. They weren't the gemstones everyone believed they were. Long before modern gemology existed, transparent and vividly colored spinels repeatedly fooled kings, emperors, and royal treasuries across Europe and Asia. Without scientific instruments, even the most experienced jewelers judged gemstones almost entirely by appearance. If a crystal possessed exceptional brilliance, impressive hardness, and remarkable clarity, it was often identified as something more famous. Many of them were wrong, although history usually remembers the enormous red spinels that were mistaken for rubies. Colorless spinels created an equally fascinating mystery. Their icy transparency and brilliant luster allowed them to imitate diamonds so convincingly that distinguishing between the two was nearly impossible without modern testing. For centuries, collectors admired these gemstones without realizing they belonged to an entirely different mineral species. That confusion wasn't caused by poor craftsmanship. It was caused by nature. Colorless spinel forms only when its crystal structure develops with almost no trace, elements capable of producing color. In reality, this is extraordinarily uncommon. Most spinels emerge in shades of red, pink, blue, violet, gray, or black because tiny amounts of chromium, cobalt, iron, or other elements become trapped inside the crystal during its growth. Eliminating those impurities almost completely requires geological conditions that occur only on rare occasions. Even when nature succeeds, another obstacle remains. Most transparent spinel crystals are simply too small or too fractured to produce fine gemstones. Large, eye-clean specimens with excellent brilliance represent only a tiny fraction of all spinel recovered worldwide. The finest examples are found primarily in Sri Lanka, with smaller quantities emerging from Myanmar, Tanzania, and Vietnam. But exceptional collector-grade stones remain genuinely scarce. Unlike diamonds, colorless spinel has never been supported by massive advertising campaigns or luxury branding. Its reputation has been built quietly among gemologists and advanced collectors who appreciate minerals for their rarity rather than their popularity. That relative obscurity means many outstanding specimens disappear into private collections, where they may remain unseen for decades. Today, colorless spinel is admired for something far more valuable than its resemblance to another gemstone. It represents a chapter in gemological history that reminds collectors how easily appearances can deceive, even the most knowledgeable experts of their time. Perhaps that is its greatest legacy. For centuries, people believed they were looking at diamonds. Only later did science reveal they had been admiring one of nature's rarest white gemstones all along. That hidden identity has transformed colorless spinel from a historical curiosity into one of the most fascinating collector gems ever discovered. Number 3, Jeremejevite. Imagine spending an entire lifetime collecting gemstones from every corner of the world and never once seeing this one in person. For many collectors, that isn't an exaggeration. It is reality. Jeremejevite belongs to an exclusive group of gemstones that are so rarely encountered that even experienced dealers may go years without handling a single museum-quality specimen. While names like sapphire, emerald, and diamond dominate auctions and jewelry showcases, Jeremejevite exists almost entirely in another world, the quiet circles of elite mineral collectors and specialized museums. The story began in 1883 when the mineral was first identified in the harsh landscapes of Siberia. It was named in honor of Russian mineralogist Pavel Vladimirovich Jeremejev, whose work helped expand scientific understanding of rare minerals during the 19th century. At the time, no one realized just how extraordinarily uncommon gem-quality Jeremejevite would prove to be. Its rarity starts with its birthplace. Jeremejevite forms only under an exceptionally narrow combination of chemical conditions within granitic pegmatites and hydrothermal environments rich in aluminum and boron. Those environments themselves are uncommon. Producing transparent crystals large enough to cut into gemstones is even more extraordinary. Most crystals remain too small, too fractured, or too heavily included to be considered gem material. The finest transparent specimens discovered over the past century have come primarily from Namibia, with additional occurrences reported in Myanmar, Madagascar, and the historic Russian localities where the mineral was first described. Even among these deposits, crystals suitable for faceting are exceptionally limited. Stones exceeding only a few carats with excellent clarity are already considered remarkable, while larger museum-quality examples are genuine rarities. Unlike gemstones that achieve fame through massive auction prices or celebrity ownership, Jeremejevite has earned its reputation through scarcity alone. It rarely appears in commercial jewelry stores, seldom reaches public exhibitions, and almost never enters the mainstream gemstone trade. When exceptional specimens become available, they are often acquired quietly by advanced collectors long before the public even learns they exist. Its appearance reflects that exclusivity. Fine Jeremejevite possesses an elegant, almost ethereal transparency that seems untouched by color, allowing light to move effortlessly through the crystal. Rather than overwhelming the eye with intense brilliance, it captivates through remarkable purity, a quality that becomes even more impressive once its rarity is understood. That is why Jeremejevite occupies one of the highest positions on this list. Not because it is the brightest white gemstone ever discovered, but because it represents something collectors pursue their entire lives. The opportunity to witness a gemstone so genuinely scarce that for most people, it will remain nothing more than a name written in books and museum catalogs. Number 2, Phenakite. Some gemstones are purchased, others are hunted. Phenakite belongs to the second category. In the world of elite mineral collecting, there is an unspoken rule. When a truly exceptional phenakite appears on the market, hesitation is often enough to lose it forever. Unlike gemstones that circulate regularly through auctions and jewelry dealers, collector-grade phenakite surfaces so infrequently that many buyers spend years waiting for a single opportunity. Its rarity begins with an extraordinary geological coincidence. Phenakite forms in highly specialized pegmatites and hydrothermal veins, where the right combination of beryllium-rich fluids, pressure, temperature, and time exists for only a brief moment in Earth's geological history. Even under those rare conditions, nature usually produces crystals that are too small, fractured, or included to become fine gemstones. Only an extremely small percentage emerge with the transparency and structural perfection required for cutting. The mineral was first described in the Ural Mountains of Russia during the 19th century, where beautifully formed crystals astonished early mineralogists. Its name comes from the Greek word phenax, meaning deceiver. The name reflected an unusual problem faced by early gem experts. At first glance, the crystal's remarkable clarity and brilliance often caused it to be mistaken for quartz or even diamond until closer examination revealed an entirely different mineral. That reputation has followed phenakite ever since. Today, important gem-quality deposits are known from Russia, Brazil, Madagascar, Myanmar, and Nigeria, but exceptional transparent crystals remain exceedingly uncommon. Large eye-clean stones are particularly scarce. Many of the finest specimens never reach ordinary jewelry markets, passing instead through specialist mineral dealers or directly into advanced private collections. Collectors prize phenakite for more than its rarity alone. Its crisp transparency, bright vitreous luster, and remarkable optical purity create a quiet elegance that stands apart from gemstones relying on vivid colors for attention. Every flawless crystal represents millions of years of geological precision, conditions that nature almost never repeats in exactly the same way. As high-quality localities continue to produce fewer outstanding specimens, competition for exceptional phenakite has only intensified. Museums seek them for scientific and educational collections. Mineral enthusiasts pursue them for their geological significance. Elite collectors recognize them as one of the most elusive white gemstones still obtainable. That is why phenakite stands near the very top of this countdown. It is not famous because millions admire it behind jewelry store windows. It is famous because so few people ever have the chance to own one. In the world of rare gemstones, scarcity creates desire. But in the case of phenakite, scarcity has created a legend. Number 1. Colorless diamond. Every white gemstone on this countdown has an extraordinary story, but only one began nearly 200 kilometers beneath Earth's surface, survived a violent journey through molten rock, outlived dinosaurs, empires, and civilizations, and ultimately became the world's most recognizable symbol of rarity. That gemstone is the colorless diamond. Its journey starts in a place no human has ever reached, Deep within Earth's mantle, where temperatures exceed 1,000 degrees Celsius and pressures are millions of times greater than those at the surface, ordinary carbon atoms undergo an astonishing transformation. Locked together under conditions almost impossible to recreate naturally, they become the hardest natural material known on Earth. Yet forming a diamond is only the beginning. Most diamonds never remain perfectly colorless. Tiny amounts of nitrogen or other atomic impurities become trapped inside the growing crystal, creating subtle shades of yellow, brown, or other colors. Producing a diamond with exceptional transparency and virtually no visible body color requires an extraordinarily rare combination of geological conditions. Nature has to get almost everything exactly right. Even then, the crystal still faces one final obstacle. If volcanic eruptions had not carried these ancient crystals toward the surface through narrow kimberlite pipes millions of years ago, every diamond ever formed would still remain buried forever beneath the continents. Every colorless diamond seen today is the survivor of a geological journey that lasted billions of years and depended on events so unlikely that scientists still study them in detail. That improbable history explains why the world's greatest colorless diamonds have become legends rather than ordinary gemstones. The Cullinan diamond, discovered in South Africa in 1905, remains the largest gem-quality rough diamond ever found, and ultimately produced several of the most famous diamonds in the British crown jewels. The Regent diamond, admired for centuries in France, survived political revolutions before becoming one of the Louvre Museum's greatest treasures. Countless other historic diamonds have passed through royal courts, museums, and record-breaking auctions, each carrying a story that extends far beyond its beauty. For collectors, however, the greatest appeal of a colorless diamond is not its fame. It is the realization that every natural diamond is a fragment of Earth's inaccessible interior, a crystal older than nearly every landscape visible today. Long before the first forests covered the continents, before mammals walked the planet, and before humanity existed, these crystals were already waiting in darkness beneath the mantle. That is what makes the colorless diamond worthy of the #1 position. It is more than the world's most famous white gemstone. It is a geological time capsule, a scientific wonder, and one of the rarest natural creations ever brought from the depths of the earth into human hands. Among all the white gemstones ever discovered, none has traveled farther, endured longer, or shaped human history more profoundly. From crystals that fooled gem experts to geological masterpieces formed over billions of years, these extraordinary white gemstones prove that rarity isn't defined by color. It's defined by the incredible journey that created them. Which of these gemstones surprised you the most? Share your favorite in the comments below. If you enjoy premium documentaries exploring Earth's rarest treasures, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next countdown. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.